From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Aylia Batool. The Vatican Library has opened a dedicated prayer space for Muslim scholars. This and more coming up on today's show, so stay tuned. A rare moment unfolded in the Indian capital New Delhi on Sunday. Afghan Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi faced a room filled with women journalists. Just 2 days earlier, female reporters were excluded from his first press conference. The move sparked outrage from politicians and media groups. Girls above 12 are barred from attending schools or universities. Mr. Muttaqi defended his government, saying women's education is only postponed, not forbidden. Islamic scholars around the world strongly disagree with Taliban's limiting girls' education, calling it un-Islamic. Mehbooba Mufti, a former chief minister of Indian-occupied Kashmir, has accused the Indian government of hypocrisy. She says Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is embracing the Taliban while vilifying Muslims at home. Her criticism came after India upgraded diplomatic engagement with Afghanistan following the visit of Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi to New Delhi. Mufti, who heads the Regional People's Democratic Party, said on X that India shakes hands with the Taliban while branding its own Muslims as outsiders. She pointed to the withdrawal of scholarships for Muslim students and the closure of religious schools, saying the move contradicts India's aid to Afghan students. The Vatican Apostolic Library has granted Muslim scholars a dedicated prayer space inside its historic premises. Vice Prefect Giacomo Cardinali told Italy's La Repubblica newspaper that visiting Muslim academics had requested a small room with a carpet for prayers, and the library agreed. He said the gesture towards Muslim scholars symbolizes the Vatican's ongoing commitment to interfaith dialogue and cultural understanding. Founded in 1451, the Vatican Library is considered the intellectual heart of the Catholic Church. It houses ancient manuscripts and texts from many faiths, including centuries-old copies of the Quran, as well as Hebrew, Ethiopian, and Chinese works. The United Nations has warned that it is running out of money to support Rohingya children living in refugee camps in Bangladesh. UNICEF says its programs are approaching a funding cliff, with essential services such as education, clean water, and health care at risk of collapse. More than 1 million Rohingya Muslims fled Burma's 2017 genocidal military crackdown and now live in crowded camps. Another 150,000 have arrived this year alone. The crisis deepened after major donors, including the U.S., slashed foreign aid. UNICEF warns that unless funding is restored, the situation will worsen in 2026. California Governor Gavin Newsom has vetoed a controversial bill dubbed the Israel tax. The state's legislature has pressed ahead with Senate Bill 771. The bill stipulates to fine social media companies each time their algorithms promoted posts deemed anti-Semitic or discriminatory. Newsom, seen as a likely 2028 Democratic presidential contender, said the bill was premature and that California must first assess whether existing civil rights laws cover online discrimination. Civil rights groups have welcomed the veto. The Council on American-Islamic Relations said the law risks over-censoring Muslim, Arab, and Palestinian voices. The American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee called the veto a decisive victory for the First Amendment. The bill drew national attention for referencing the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's controversial definition of anti-Semitism. Experts say it would blur the line between hate speech and legitimate political dissent. Gofundme's CEO says more Americans are crowdfunding for groceries as inflation and high living costs squeeze households. Details coming up after the break. A vigil was held outside the New York Times headquarters to honor Palestinian journalist Saleh al-Jafarawi, who was shot and killed in Gaza this week. Protesters held photos of al-Jafarawi and other slain reporters with the message, "They can't kill the story." They distributed mock newspapers entitled New York Crimes, demanding justice and protection for journalists in war zones. Al-Jafarawi was fatally shot in Gaza City's Sabra neighborhood on Saturday, days after a declared ceasefire. Media reports say he was shot 7 times by Israel-backed gangs while documenting destruction after Israeli troops withdrew from Gaza. Gofundme CEO Tim Cadogan says a growing number of Americans are turning to crowdfunding platforms just to afford groceries. He told Yahoo Finance the worsening economy has forced many to raise money online for basic necessities such as food and rent. Cadogan said on the Opening Bid Unfiltered podcast that basic things have gone up significantly in the last 3 years. GoFundMe, once known as a funding source for medical bills or disaster relief, is now flooded with appeals for grocery money. Analysts say the trend underscores how persistent inflation, high borrowing costs, and low savings are squeezing households nationwide. Economists say that while headline inflation has eased, cumulative price hikes for essentials such as food, rent, and childcare remain steep. Wages have not kept up for many workers, especially younger and low-income Americans. Analysts warn with debt levels climbing and credit card delinquencies increasing, more families are turning to kindness of strangers online, making crowdfunding a last resort. Israel has handed over 45 more Palestinian bodies through the Red Cross, raising the total returned to 90, the health ministry in Gaza said today. Medical sources told media outlets that several bodies arrived blindfolded and handcuffed, with some showing signs of field executions. Doctors are documenting and preparing the remains for burial under standard medical procedures. Hamas, meanwhile, transferred 4 more Israeli bodies to the Red Cross, bringing the total to 8. Families have identified 3 of them. The Israeli army said the 4th did not match any registered prisoners, but Hamas rejected that claim, saying the body belonged to a soldier killed during a resistance operation. Israel has delayed opening the Rafah crossing and limited aid trucks, citing the slow handover of remains of prisoners. Hamas says continuous Israeli bombardment and large-scale destruction have complicated recovery efforts, leaving approximately 20 bodies still unaccounted for in Gaza. Hamas sources say its negotiators clearly stated during talks that the recovery of bodies will take time. Extremist far-right Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir stormed Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque compound on Tuesday, his second such visit in a week. Eyewitnesses in Jerusalem's Islamic Endowments Directorate said Ben-Gvir entered the site under heavy police protection. The unannounced incursion violated protocol, which requires prior approval from the Prime Minister's office. Ben-Gvir has raided Al-Aqsa 13 times since taking office in 2022, including 10 times since Israel's genocide in Gaza began in October 2023. His visits have drawn sharp Palestinian and regional condemnation. The Islamic Endowments Council has warned that Al-Aqsa is witnessing the worst demolition of its historical and legal status in modern times. It accuses Israeli authorities and extremist groups of flagrant violations, including desecration of Talmudic rituals inside the compound. Al-Aqsa is Islam's 3rd holiest site. Israel captured East Jerusalem in 1967 and illegally annexed it in 1980, a move never recognized internationally. Pakistan and Afghanistan have agreed to a 48-hour ceasefire after days of fierce border clashes. The truce, effective from 6 p.m. local time Wednesday, came at Afghanistan's request, Pakistan's Foreign Office confirmed. It said both sides would make sincere efforts to find a peaceful solution through dialogue. The announcement followed what Pakistani officials called precision strikes by the army in Afghanistan's Kandahar province and capital, Kabul. Security sources told Pakistani state broadcaster PTV that several Taliban battalions and command centers, including militant hubs, were completely destroyed, killing dozens of operatives. Pakistan said the strikes were a response to aggression from Afghan soil. Earlier, the Pakistani military repelled coordinated Taliban attacks on border posts in its province Balochistan, killing 15 to 20 fighters. The army reports that 23 Pakistani soldiers have been killed and 29 wounded in recent clashes. In a breakthrough for regenerative medicine, scientists at the University of Cambridge have created embryo-like structures from stem cells that produced human blood cells. The research, published by the Gordon Institute, recreated early stages of human development without using eggs or sperm. Lead scientist Jitesh Neopane told The Guardian that the first sign of success was the appearance of a blood-red color visible to the naked eye. The model mimics natural embryonic development, helping researchers understand how blood and heart cells form in the womb. The lab-grown blood stem cells were shown to develop into red and white blood cells. Azim Surani, director of germline and epigenetics research at the Gordon Institute, said the technique could one day allow doctors to generate personalized blood for treatments such as bone marrow transplants. Researchers say the model lacks key tissues like the brain or placenta, making it a safe experimental system. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.